WrestleTalk.
CM Punk had a promo segment with Drew McIntyre, and let me tell you that it ruled. You might even say that it drooled.
It's just that the word drool means something. So, I don't think that works.
It drooled.
Okay.
Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. This is our review of Monday Night Raw. Please do press the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you managed to make it this far and haven't already. I'm Luco and DAD.
I've barely made it this far, I'll be honest.
And I'm joined by your reigning Jam That Champion, Dan Layton. Dan.
Yeah?
The Royal Rumble is coming up.
Yeah, it is.
And, what we like to do around these sort of times is a little party for that.
Oh, yeah. Everyone likes a Rumble party. There ain't no party like a Rumble party.
We did parties for Night of Champions.
Yeah, we did,
parties for Crown Jewel and Survivor Series.
Yeah, we did. Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had
Clash of the Castle.
a very, very good time with those as well. And, a lot of people are asking, but where's the Rumble party?
Yeah, they have been asking that question.
I have been asking that. And I haven't really had much of an answer.
No.
Just because there's lots of things that just get in the way of getting these things out there and getting them done.
Moving parts.
There's moving parts aplenty. And Christmas, of course.
Of course.
And then I had the audacity to have a week off.
Yeah, that was unprecedented scenes.
That set us back a week.
Yeah.
But I can now officially announce, if you were at our Survivor Series party last November, check your inbox because your secret code is in there with the link to the party page. You can get tickets for our Royal Rumble watch party on January 27th.
Royal Rumble is the party of all parties. We're all going to count down. We're all going to go, You're going to be there.
We'll do that 60 times.
Yeah.
And honestly, at the 60th time, it still won't be old.
There it is. Not to put too fine a point on it, but the last time we had one of these parties, we ended up on telly 3 times. So you could be on Monday Night Raw if you come to this show. When Sasha Banks returns.
Not only that, we can almost guarantee you'll be part of the WrestleTalk experience because we'll be live streaming our reactions to the Rumble party from the venue itself. And as you've seen from clips and stuff, we'll have some of this bit later on. You'll be able to see yourself on screen. It is a wicked, wicked time. It is the best way to watch wrestling pay-per-views, and we are all very, very excited.
Yeah.
Also, I can confirm as well, we're not doing a live no-holds-barred for the pre-show this time.
Oh, okay. What are we doing instead?
I'll tell you in a bit, Dan.
Oh, a tease, a little tease.
Hook and tease. Because we're here to talk about Monday Night Raw. If you want to join the conversation, please do join our live chat with our wonderful, wonderful crew that are joining us for this stream. And leave a comment down below if you're watching this on demand. If you want your thoughts read out on the air, WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 amount. But Dan, let's kick things off with this opening segment.
Yeah.
The show sort of started with Cody Rhodes. He was just walking backstage and then immediately cut to a pissed off Drew McIntyre in the ring. I didn't see last week's Raw.
Yeah, they won.
We talked about this on the Collision review yesterday. I didn't see Raw last week. I didn't watch much of wrestling at all while I was off. But they had the Drew and Seth match last week.
Yes, they did.
How was the match?
It was a good match. I had fun with it. It was a fun show actually altogether. The match itself though was quite entertaining. Did the job. You were sort of looking at it. They had a cheap pop in there with an unexpected cash in, and then which didn't work. And then Drew kind of very much got what I considered to be the fall. It was like, okay, you've done it. You've done the Claymore. You've done the DDT. He's been hit. He's out. And sure enough, Drew over-rotates Seth, and it's a bit clunky because of the camera angles, but the idea being that Drew, in his haste to get the cover, has tried to fold Seth over, and Seth's foot ends up on the rope. And it was a fun near fall. It was a really well-worked moment. And then, the distractions ultimately led to Seth getting a steal almost and running away.
Well, that's kind of what Drew's point was here, which is that, like, everyone keeps telling me that, the only person to blame is myself. And yeah, I could, look at over-rotating on that pin, over-covering in a way, over-rolling up. And that did lead to Seth's foot being on the ropes. But really, when I think about it, it's everybody else's fault that I lost this. I love justified heel Drew McIntyre. And he had this whole pop at Damian Priest. It's like, Damian, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You try to cash in to make it why would you want to make it a triple threat? Why not wait till I've won and then cash in when I'm weak and wounded? You're an idiot, Damian Priest.
Which almost feels like a pointed comment to everybody trying to book about 15 multi-man matches for WrestleMania at this point, because it is interesting.
Yeah.
That it worked for Seth Rollins in that regard, but it's a choice for you to do that with a pretty pissed off looking Scotsman in the ring.
Absolutely. He was like, I didn't lose that match. Damian Priest cost me that match. And he kind of had this whole thing about...
Which is a bit delulu, because he absolutely did cost himself that match.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's kind of the brilliance of it. And I do really think that he is one of the best characters in WWE at the moment. I'm really enjoying what Drew McIntyre is doing. And he's like the whole thing of like, everyone's wrong except for me. Like, I'm the only person here who's right. Do you know what else I'm right about? CM Punk.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of people, maybe you know what I should do is I should just walk away from the company, go away for 9 years, and I'll be welcomed back with a hero's reception, and maybe then you'll start to like me. And he has this pop at Punk, and then Punk comes out, and immediately I was like, yes, please. Yeah. I really enjoyed the Punk and Seth promo that we had a few weeks late last year.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about this on that show, being like, man, that was just magical stuff. Made me want to see Seth versus Punk at WrestleMania. This has made me want to see Drew versus Punk at WrestleMania instead. Yeah, like this is now the match I'm so interested in. It's nothing against Seth. I just really want to see Punk and Drew. Like that's at the end of it, I was like, that sets up Punk and Drew for Mania. Like that's a really like salivating match. I can get on board with that. I don't know what I do with Seth over there. And then I was like, oh, maybe do a triple threat. And it's Punk, Drew, and Seth. That I could really get on board with.
I'm not on board with these multi-man. Everyone is trying to shoehorn everyone in. But to that point, it is kind of because of look at Triple H's hand, man. It's stacked. You know, he's got the people on this roster who are all main eventers. We've talked about this a bunch of times. Like 2001 Royal Rumble, 2002, if you think about it, with Triple H and Kurt Angle and Stone Cold and all these people in it, where it's like these are all big time guys. You have a wealth of choices now. Something Pete and I talked about last week that I don't think many people understood what I was talking about was the idea that we need to stop thinking of Mania as the be all and end all. If they're going to start booking these shows in massive stadiums, if they're going to start booking these shows as event shows, you know, places like we've got Bash at Berlin in a stadium in August, we've got the Perth Elimination Chamber coming up in a 60,000 seat stadium. These shows are only B shows if you think of them as B shows, and if you book them as B shows. Well, if they don't book them as B shows and they present them as massive shows, that's where you can get your stories like your Drew and your Punk, or your Seth and your Drew again, or your Seth and your Punk, or whatever. Like, there's all of these things. For me, I'm still sort of nailed on the idea of Punk and Seth at Mania, because it's not only the match that I want to see, it does wonders for that belt. Punk wins a Royal Rumble and says, I want to go for that belt. It tells me that belt is one worth choosing. That was a conversation we had in our fantasy booking warfare when Nina Samuels was like, why would Gunther go for that belt? And I was like, well, I'm trying to make that belt look like something worthwhile. In this scenario, Punk's got a reason to go after the man holding it as well as the championship. I loved this segment. All it did for me, though, really, was amuse-bouche me into thinking of all the potentials we could have down the line over the course of this year. This idea that Punk has come back, and it both does and doesn't feel odd to see him in the ring at this point.
Still feels odd to me.
Still feels odd to you?
Yeah, when he came out, I would still feel like, oh, my game's glitched.
Right. It's because he started like slicking his hair back again. I like the short version.
He's looking great at the moment. He looks so much healthier.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, time off will do that to you. Look at you. You're all trim and ready and raring to go.
Cut my hair this morning.
There you go. How about that?
Finally got a beard trimmer so I could trim my beard again.
Yeah, whereas I haven't taken time off in ages, so I look haggard as anything. But
Dan, you look handsome.
I know. I just wanted you to say it. No, but I'm going to try and bring my massive point to a close, which is just basically he's here, and there are so many moving parts and so many different combinations and so many bits of intrigue, and they're all playing out at once, and they would all play out at once in the beginning. But let's not rush into any of them and do them all quickly, unless you think he's going to disappear in 3 months, in which case you might as well try.
That was kind of one of the things that Drew said. He's like, I want to say congratulations to you, Punk. You've been here, 2 months and you haven't gone yet. We've got a bet backstage on how long you're going to last here. I thought Drew, like real Drew, was very cool. And this in the same way that real Seth a few weeks back when he had his Punk segment was so much better than I'm a revolutionary. Like real Seth was so much cooler than that version of Seth. And I thought this Drew it wasn't like he was cooler. It was the Drew that we're always having, but he's talking about real things. And it's just like, it didn't feel like it was a change in his character. This was just Drew being awesome.
I mean, that's why this has been working, because he has been talking about those real things. And him talking about all the like guidance he needed from a locker room leader at that point is the same sort of earnestness that he's giving when he's talking about me and Becky both know what it's like to leave our families at home and make these big sacrifices. So yeah, it's all part of the same character.
This reminded me a lot. Obviously, it's not as, I would not say it's as good as this segment, but it was a lot like the Eddie Kingston Punk segment that they had, where the two of them had said, like, you know, backstage, these are the beats we're going to hit. I'm going to bring up this. I'm going to bring up this. And they just went out there and just brought up real life issues that they had with each other and just talked about it very openly, very honestly. And it was just a truly magical segment in All Elite Wrestling's history. I'm not going to say that this is an all-time magical segment, but I really do think like this was this is the thing that excited me the most from the show, and this is what you want from your CM Punk being back in WWE, is Drew talking about, it's like, and you know, when you were here and you were champion and you kept walking into rooms telling us you were the locker room leader, because that's what all leaders do. They tell people that they're the leader. I needed a leader, but you weren't leading people. No, you're just a demon. You're just like someone. What was it you said about, like, I spoke to Randy Orton about this. I just said, like, oh, I just talked to Randy about this. You're talking about very openly and honestly about, you know, these people having conversations backstage and being like, oh yeah, I talked to Randy about this, and you know, I was dealing with my demons and he was dealing with his demons. You're straight edge. You don't deal with demons. You're just a demon yourself. And then we had, and this is one of the things that I think actually might make this slightly better than the Kingston segment, this had that Punk line. I always love, you know, your arms are too short to box with God. You know, those lines. You're going to find out when you're not swimming with sharks. I'm here swimming with sharks and you're there dancing with stars, and the Jericho feud. You always have those little CM Punk stingers in there, and I love a little Punk stinger. And his Punk stinger in this one here was like, I'm not a demon. I'm Satan himself. CM Punk is the devil, confirmed. I didn't get to do the edited reviews because my trains were cancelling, but I wrote that joke down ahead of time. He even like made a reference to the Straight Edge Society. Yeah. It was like, oh, if you're dealing with demons, I can shave your head right now. We can induct you into the Straight Edge Society. Yeah, I thought this was so cool. And then he made a Commando reference, which I thought was great. And he was like, look, I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble and I'm going to eliminate everyone, but Drew, I'm going to save you for last. And he just walked down, and that's what I mean. It's like, I want to see Drew versus Punk. I wanted to see Punk versus Seth, but now I want to see Drew versus Punk. And this is kind of what's so great about Triple H era WWE. I've got so many things I want to see that I can't wait to see all of them.
It's interesting. I thought Christmas was finished, but here we are with Quality Street tin, a tin full of chocolates that we all want to try and eat.
Absolutely.
And we even have a couple that everyone's going to leave behind on this show, like Jinder versus Seth Rollins. But like, there's you're looking at a giant box of chocolates and you never know what it's going to get, and it's all really great. And there's so many. I'm just like, let's not eat them all at once. You know, let's savor them a little bit. Let's spread it out. I think I feel like maybe it was because I was tired this morning. I don't feel like I felt this segment was the fuse segment to really make this so. I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was tremendously effective. Everything you say, I completely agree with. But it wasn't something that made me go, I can't wait to see that match at WrestleMania instead of Seth and Punk.
Do you think because you and Ollie talked about this in the World's End review, the time off syndrome that we often have here at WrestleTalk is that if we ever take a week off work and don't watch any wrestling in that week off, we come back and just like, isn't everything great? No, isn't everything awesome?
But here's the thing, like, and you're not wrong, and you're not alone. Like, a lot of people have. I've been on the internet and had a look at some of the reviews, and some people who openly don't really vibe with the WWE style of production have been given this segment huge props. Like, I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. The opposite of that. I'm just saying that I saw a flavor. I saw a reason that Punk is here. I saw a reason why this feels like this is going to work. I saw a reason that not only is this going to work, there's going to be a locker room harmony, because they took their shots, but it felt like they took their shots in a healthy way. Do you know what I mean? Not to be a bit glib or whatever about it. And it felt like showing me the ingredients, showing me the smorgasbord, and being like, Punk gets his belt, maybe Drew will come after that, because let's not forget, there's a whole the wheel never stops. The story's never finished, as Triple H said. Like, there's the constantly moving. If the idea is that Punk is gonna, you know, he's learned his lessons, he is gonna play the machine, he's gonna play within the wheel and not kick his toys out of the pram. We've got a long road to go on, and there's so many different options, and you are smart not to ignore them. Where for a bajillion reasons over in the AEW side, there were all of these money matches that we were all salivating to, and we were like, right, let's get Collision underway, let's get Punk back, because we know we're building to. I want to see a Kenny Omega versus Punk at All In. You know, it wasn't to be because of all the machinations that were going on backstage. That there are 3 sides to every story, but here it's basically saying to us, we're going to do them all. You know, these people that Drew McIntyre stormed out of the arena when CM Punk came back and all that stuff. Was it because of Punk? Was it because of other things? He even mentioned he might leave the company, and the reports are saying that his contract is still not up, and that all adds to the idea.
Yeah, he still hasn't signed his new deal.
Yeah.
Sheamus hasn't. Apparently, Becky, what Sean Ross Sapp said on Fightful today was that she is demanding a massive price. It'll probably be the biggest contract any female wrestler's ever had.
And all of these things are probably true. Do I see Becky Lynch leaving WWE? No, nope. I don't. She's got a book.
They'll pay it.
Yeah, well, that's it. And you can't set precedents with that's why the Sasha Banks and Mercedes made anything. There's all of this stuff going on, but at the end of the day, we are the ones who reap the benefits of that, and they are showing it to us. And I'm just like, let's exercise a little bit of caution when we're talking about the fantasy booking of all these multi-men matches. Roman, Rock, and Cody. How about this? How about this? How about this? How about this? It's just there's just so many flavors. And it's lovely to see, but let's everybody calm down and not rush these things and get them over with.
You're still pushing for Punk to win the Rumble?
Yeah, I like the idea of I like I said before. I think it really firms. Although that's okay. I like the idea of Punk winning the Rumble because it sets up a reason why someone would go for the belt that we all think of as secondary. And if you are trying to convince me that that belt is worth it, that's what you should be doing as a booker. Later in the show, they also did make a point about nobody's done it twice since Steve Austin 26 years ago, and they really hyped Cody for it.
Didn't they just?
No, I love Cody. So I'm like, those are my 2 picks.
I said this to Ollie, we recorded a 3 count today. It'll be going out this coming Sunday on the WrestleTalk News channel. I said to him, I was like, they were hammering home the idea that no one has won back-to-back Rumbles since Austin in 26 years ago, whenever it was, when he did it in 97, 98. That was like, they're hammering it home so much that he is either going to do it or he is catastrophically going to fail at the final hurdle.
I also have a fantasy booking idea that me and Pete have workshopped that I really have got quite fond of.
Do you do any work?
No, I'm a freelancer.
Okay.
I just come in and look pretty. And even that I'm struggling with at the moment. But we all have our little fantasy booking ideas and the ways you can get it. I end up with... And then you've got The Rock in there as well.
Well, I was going to say, The Rock's also a big part of this story.
Yeah.
I don't think The Rock's going to be in the Rumble,
Nope.
but I can certainly imagine Rock doing a stare down with Roman after the Fatal 4-Way on the Universal title pictures finished. I've still got Cody going back-to-back wins, and it is Cody versus... it's Cody versus Roman at Mania, and I could see them doing Roman versus Rock at Elimination Chamber. You and Pete talked about this quite eloquently last week with this whole idea of, and you mentioned earlier, treating B shows like they're not B shows. Elimination Chamber in Australia has the same capacity as WrestleMania.
Yeah, 63,000 without any of the floor seats.
They're both basically 65,000 seaters, right? So it's not like you're going to look at Elimination Chamber and be like, oh, why are you doing Rock versus Roman there? It's like, so here's me being like, I want to see Drew versus Punk at Mania. That's the match I'm excited to see at WrestleMania. But you can do Drew versus Punk at Elimination Chamber. And it will feel just as big. Suddenly, scale-wise and visually, it will look spectacular.
And I think that's the other thing that makes us all go a bit gaga and a bit crazy about this is because... You know how many times have they said you got 3 main events in this show, and it's there's only 1 main event. The whole Punk thing about this is a main event. Well, no, there is only 1 main event.
Yeah.
It's just that this year I kind of believe it. I kind of believe that over 2 nights you've got several different main event possibilities. Yeah, Rock and Roman is there. Cody and Roman is also there. Seth and Punk is also there. Becky and Rhea is something that you've spoken about a lot that you'd like to see. That
and I still think it's going to happen.
And it may well. Bayley and Io, or Bayley and Mercedes. Let's say Mercedes comes back. I don't know. Probably unlikely, but there are so many different options of people within the company, let alone people who are outside of the company, that I just sort of, that's why I find it so hard to be like, let's pick which one it's going to be, and the whole discourse of is he the guy, is he not the guy, and it's got to be this and it has to be Mania. I'm almost like, do you know what, I don't know how you can absolutely go wrong, but I just want to sit back and put my feet up and let it happen.
My big prediction here, the final 3 of the Rumble is Cody, Drew, and Punk. That's your final 3, and Punk takes out Drew, Cody takes out Punk, Cody wins the Rumble, Drew pissed off, blamed someone else, blamed Punk effectively, and that's how you do Punk and Drew at Chamber. Perhaps that's a number one contenders match for who is going to face Seth at Mania. And you can either have either one of them win, probably Punk win, or in my dream world, you find a schmoz thing and you do a triple threat at Mania. That also kind of separates it out a little bit, sort of separates out the world title and the universal title into two different match types, I guess. Maybe that's my GM mode going in their varieties, the spice of life and all that. But it just sets up, that's what I loved about this segment. I love a segment that spins out lots of different thoughts and feelings and plans and fantasy bookings. You could be like, oh, you could do this and then that will lead to this, or you could do that and it will lead to so-and-so. That's what I really liked about this segment. I thought this was a absolute home run segment. And, I thought Punk was great. Punk had his stinger in there. He had his really good line. I thought this actually felt like the best that Punk has been since he came back. But credit to Drew. I thought Drew was fantastic in this segment. He was so great. And this heel run of his, even the lead up to the heel run as well, when he was doing that sort of like tweener thing where he was a babyface but acting like a heel, and he was doing that slow burn heel turn. It has been an incredible year for Mr. McIntyre. And I don't know whether he stays or whether he goes, but this has been a great run. I really, really enjoyed this, Drew.
It's been very effective, and he's done a fantastic job with it.
We like to do our polls. So why don't we do a poll? I'm going to suggest 3 options. Punk versus Seth. Drew versus Punk.
And then
triple threat. Yeah. So, Mod Mother, if you
Mother
can...
is not here.
Oh, okay. I mean, that means I'm going to have to do the poll then. Good. So, if you can vamp, perhaps.
Oh, I can vamp.
Maybe if you read out some of the Ultrachats.
Don't you worry.
If you want to get involved, WrestleTalk.com/support, because Dan's going to be reading out all of the ones above the $5 amount while I make a poll.
So, Christy has done just that and says, hi, fellas. First time Super Chatter. Thank you very much indeed. Really enjoyed last night's show. Has me very excited for the Rumble. I loved the Drew Punk segment. Drew has probably been the best character on Raw, especially since Jey joined. Keep up the good content. And there's another guy. So, this is the thing. There are so many options, and like Sami Zayn hasn't been in this conversation, and
I had him down as my 4th of the final 4.
There you go. But I mean, Gunther hasn't been a part of this conversation if you want to consider him.
That's because Ilya Dragunov's going to eliminate him, and that's going to be your main match right there.
But you've got so many different choices and so many different options, and I think it is a wealth of... This is why I'm really trying to double down on, while I didn't... For me, this segment wasn't as fire as the Seth segment or even the Punk solo segment on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying it wasn't tremendously effective. I also just feel like there's almost people bending over backwards to try and make certain things fit in their fantasy bookings, and that is part of the joy. Like, that's not me negging or criticizing. It literally just is an absolute part of the fun of this time of year, and it's so nice for a change for there to be so many different potential solutions, and who knows what they're going to end up like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the Rumble this year. You mentioned the 01 Rumble, like that's the one I always throw up as the example. For my money, it's the best Rumble ever.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why it's the best Rumble ever is that even though Steve Austin was always going to win that Royal Rumble, the promo package that airs at the start of the show and going into it, you're like, crikey, this is a star-studded show, and you've got loads of guys actually that could win the Royal Rumble here. And that's what makes the 01 Rumble so incredible. But this here, the 2024 Rumble, is leading into a very similar thing where we're like, last year, it was always Cody. The year before that, no one really knew, but I don't think they really knew either. That's why Brock won. But this is like, I'm going into this Rumble being like, it could be Cody. It could be Punk. But there's a bunch of other guys. Everyone was wanting Gunther to win. You wanted Cody and Gunther to go like the Iron Man performance, be 1 and 2, or be the final 2 again, but this time it's Gunther that wins. I had my big thing. It was like, I want to see Gunther with 2 belts. Like, I want to see Gunther get all the belts and stuff. There's so many options. I cannot wait for the Rumble. I think the women's one, I'm a bit more, like, I've got more question marks over. I think that is Becky's match to lose.
Yeah, I've got Bayley in that.
You got Bayley to win.
Yeah.
I mean, Bayley, that's a great shout.
Yeah, because Becky's won it already. And Bayley eliminating Becky last if you've come second in the Rumble, you've got a good shot of being like, I was this close and there's 2 championships and I feel like I deserve a shot at you.
In which case, then, you're kind of looking at less of a men's and women's Rumble. It's a Raw and SmackDown thing. It's like the Raw Rumble is then sort of the men's Rumble is the Raw Rumble because it's not really about Roman's title. If Cody wins, then it's about Roman's title. But the women's one is like, is it about damage control? Like, is damage control the through line for that Rumble, or is it Becky 2-time?
Yeah. I also like the wrinkle on the SmackDown of Nick Aldis standing up to the Bloodline a little bit and he's sort of not letting him get away with some stuff. It's like, oh, you wanted to interfere and ruin my main event? You're having them all in a fatal 4-way. That adds a really interesting element too. If the Rumble goes to Punk, then what happens to Roman's belt?
Well, Nick Aldis inserts himself into the Royal Rumble and he
wins it.
And wins it.
Yeah.
BM Whitehouse here has got 2 things. Number 1, R-Truth will get over in Judgment Day as Sami Zayn did in the Bloodline. 2, let's make a bet. If Jinder wins the world title next week, you must make Pete and Tempest do a podcast review of NWA Power for a year. If not, I'll give $5. Every 10 Manias has 3 people competing for the world title. At number 10, it was Hart, Luger, and Yokozuna. 20, it was DX and Redacted. 30, it was Brian Orton, Batista. 40 can continue that tradition with Rollins, Punk, and McIntyre. I don't see why not.
The big one for me was the idea of the changing of the guard, of like the guy gets put on the shoulders. That's the really big, or like the big confetti celebration, which there's a confetti celebration in a lot of Manias now, but I think of the sort of 3, Bret Hart, Benoit, and then Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny about that fact there as well is that 15 was also supposed to be a triple threat. That was supposed to be Rock, Mankind, and Steve Austin. But someone decided that the WrestleMania main event should only be a singles match for the world title. It shouldn't be a triple threat. And that man was Shawn Michaels, who then went on to compete in a triple threat match for the world title in the main event of WrestleMania.
He was wrong.
Cooper Crease here said, what would you guys think about Gunther returning Monday to cut a no one can beat me promo, only to get interrupted by Ilya Dragunov to set up an IC title match at the Rumble? Love you guys. Jam that jam. I've again, spoilers for 3 count. I've got Dragunov in the Rumble eliminating Gunther, and you do Dragunov Gunther for the IC title at Mania, and basically redo the NXT UK match that not as many people saw that should have seen it. Like probably the best match of WWE in 2020 during the pandemic. And you just do that on the biggest stage possible at WrestleMania. The only problem is the Dragunov's the NXT champion.
I was about to say, that's why I don't have him anywhere near it. I'm sticking to my Bron Breakker eliminates Gunther from the Rumble to make a splash, and then they have he doesn't have to beat him. But they get a good run on Raw.
And this is Ollie's prediction. Instead was like he's pushing for Brock Lesnar, and you do Lesnar Gunther for the IC title at Mania instead. By the way, I'm all for that as well. And isn't that also kind of a magic thing about this year's Rumble? It's not just who's going to be facing Seth, it's who's going to eliminate Gunther? Yeah. What Gunther match are we getting?
I will also say, we are 3 months away. 2 months away, 3 months away from Mania? No, 3. We're 3 months away from Mania. This Cody Shinsuke story, and we'll talk about it there, has been 6 weeks of television, 7 weeks, including the one that was just a recap show. And it has dragged. Let's look at Elimination Chamber first, and then let's get to Mania. Not in the main events, but everything else.
6 weeks might not be Triple H's strength.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
This is what I'm talking about.
Give him 4 weeks.
This is what I'm talking about.
And we'll do the last one here from Tex for the moment, who said, Rhea Ripley is so over right now. Her aura is unmatched and has become one of the must-see acts on Monday nights, which makes me happy being a fan of her since 2019. Perhaps 2024 is the year she turns babyface.
We'll talk about it when we get to her segment, because I had similar thoughts.
Yeah. But yeah, we've been talking about the Royal Rumble and who's going to be winning the Women's Royal Rumble to possibly face Rhea Ripley. And what's going to be the best way for you to watch the Royal Rumble? Is it going to be sitting at home on your own?
That does sound like fun. I like to be on my own at home.
I've watched Royal Rumbles on my own before, and you sit there and you go 3, 2, 1, and you sort of chuckle to yourself and you have fun. You can jump up and down on your bed when your fave wins, or you could be in a room with all of us watching the Royal Rumble live at the Long Arm Pub and Brewery in Shoreditch in London. Over 100 other WrestleTalk fans will be there. This is the best way to watch wrestling pay-per-views. It's the most fun I've had watching wrestling pay-per-views, and I've been to wrestling pay-per-views. I have had such a blast at every single one of these done. And the one that we keep talking about, like we did Clash of the Castle, we did Money in the Bank, we done the Saudi shows, and we did Survivor Series. But the one that people always say was like, can't wait for you guys to do the Rumble.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for you guys to do a watch party for the Rumble. And we are now set to finally do a watch party for a Royal Rumble. And I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's the show that is not so much a show, it's a game, isn't it? We all have a laugh with the Rumble. We can enjoy some good wrestling, but you might be there when Sean Waltman makes his appearance in a Royal Rumble match.
We're also going to be doing the Royal Jamble again, which means we'll be doing a Royal Jamble live.
For someone to come after this at WrestleMania, because it's not going anywhere.
2 people will be going after that belt in the men's and women's matches at WrestleMania. So that is always going to be happening. That's tremendously excited to be doing that live. Tickets are on sale if you bought a ticket to our Survivor Series event. If you did go to our Survivor Series event last year, there is an email in your inbox with a link and a code. Use that and you can get your tickets right now. If you are one of the people who unfortunately could not make it to our Survivor Series party, do not fret, because tickets will be going on sale this Thursday at 3 p.m. So when we go live with our AEW Dynamite review, tickets will go on sale for our Royal Rumble watch party to the general public. And I had a bit of a tease for you earlier.
You did.
Last couple of times we've done no holds barred. We've had a grand old time doing it, but we thought we'd shake things up a little bit.
Ooh.
So, for the first time ever, we're going to be doing live Survival Series.
Oh, no!
Survival Series live.
Oh, the pressure.
And in person at our Royal Rumble pre-show party.
It's big pressure enough in a room, let alone in front of human beings who are judging you.
Judging you harshly for getting things wrong.
Goodness me.
So yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun doing Survival Series live. Tempest and I are currently trying to work out, like, we're like, yeah, let's do it. And they're like, what do we do? Well, let's talk about this now. So we're going to be putting some plans together, what we might do. It might be slightly different to how Survival Series works as an edited format, but because I'm not going to have 5 minutes to try and decide whether or not Sheamus was a champion at one point. We're tremendously excited to be doing this, and we can't wait to do that. So those will be limited tickets. So we might be able to put some extra tickets on sale for that a little bit later on down the line, but at the moment they are limited tickets for live Survival Series. But the watch party this coming Thursday, when we're live for our Dynamite review, they'll be going on sale. Do and ask the audience, like a lifeline. Like in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Oh, it's good. We get 3 lifelines. Instead of 3 strikes, it's 3 lifelines. It's 1 strike and you're out, but you get 3 lifelines. That's fun. Yeah. So tickets are on sale now if you did go to our watch party last time. They'll be on sale for our AEW Dynamite review on Thursday. Right, let's get into the rest of this show. As I said, we opened up with the Punk and Drew segment. And then we had Finn Balor versus Tommaso Ciampa. What I really liked about this was the presentation of Ciampa's promo. Yeah. So Balor makes his entrance, him and Damian Priest are in the ring, and then he cuts a commercial and they come back. And Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are just walking to the ring. They're basically doing like a West Wing walk and talk, but they're doing it to camera. And then they arrive at the gorilla position and it's like, yeah, we're going to go win those tag titles. And now goes Ciampa. I thought this was really, really cool. Yeah, it was almost like last week, and you didn't watch last week, but we started the show with a really cool sort of rundown of what's coming up on Raw with Cole and Barrett in the ring. And with all the reports of Kevin Dunn being like out of the company and they want to take it in a more sportsy sort of feel direction, these changes aren't going to happen overnight when you've been a structure in place. Kevin Dunn has been the head of this since the first WrestleMania. So old habits die hard. You don't want to rip up the rule book overnight. But there are certain things that it feels like they're trying and changing. That opening segment last week, this kind of walk and talk promo, which gives it that kind of intensity feeling. And I felt that intensity carried on through the match. Do you know I was a big fan of it. Do you know which one I noticed? Go on. It was during the Kaiser Kingston match. They did the spot to set up going to commercial break, but didn't have the commentators throw to it. Yeah. You know, it's like it wasn't a Raw rolls on or anything like that. The commentary just stopped. Yeah. And then they just had a little bit of action. And I was like, this feels like we should be going into a commercial break. And then they did. Yeah. I was like, oh. Yeah. Oh, cool. It's interesting. Like, as I say, you can't rip up the rule book, but it's certainly worth trying some things out. Yeah. And I would like these to not be a false dawn. I really liked the intensity of this, and I thought it benefited the match. So this is part of one of the great storylines on Raw at the moment, which is R-Truth being part of the Judgment Day. Yeah. This match was set up by R-Truth last week, and it's also there to fuel the Judgment Day versus DIY for the tag titles match that we're going to be getting at some point soon, likely at Elimination Chamber, perhaps. And They had a pretty good match. I really enjoyed the work that they did. Priest fought with Gargano at ringside, and Ciampa put an end to that. And then Gargano tripped Balor in the ring, and that allowed Ciampa to pin Balor. So you could argue, DIY were cheating, but it's Judgment Day shenanigans. That's DIY. I thought it was a good match, decent little finish, and I'm super stoked for Judgment Day versus DIY as a match.
Yeah, I didn't love the end. I thought it was a weird way to get DIY over, or to see them be I think they're facing an uphill struggle, and it's even down to their theme song, which I think is
bad,
hot garbage. But I like them very much, and this match was very quick, and this match was very intense, and it's as you say, I'm excited to watch this tag match. I just thought that was a weird choice for the finish. Something else that struck me was the Razor's Edge got a reaction. Damian Priest, a lot of people being like, Damian Priest is not someone who you consider as a guy. He's got bags of time on that contract, and he looks cool. He had that great match with Bad Bunny. He carries his charisma very well. And I don't know, there was something really interesting about the fact that he got him up for that Razor's Edge, and probably because he was hovering near a table, but the crowd seemed really up for it.
I was going to say, I think the table might have had something to do with it.
It was fun.
It was fun, though.
It was good, and I was like, good for you.
We got a recap of Nia Jax beating Becky Lynch last week, and then backstage, Jackie interviewed Becky, who said, hey, look, I'm in the Royal Rumble, so it's not all over because Nia didn't end me and I didn't end Nia, so this will continue.
This is the other side of the production coin, where I still feel like there are some habits that I find a bit weird and a bit lazy. And this was the only time Becky was on the whole show. So she came into work and got into something akin to gear to do this and then go. And I'm like, could this not be a segment elsewhere? Could this not just be an inset promo? I didn't love that Punk was there at the beginning and then not in the rest of the show. I like things to have a run all the way through. I like a storyline to carry us the whole way through. And I suppose to an extent there was that with Cody Rhodes.
And R-Truth.
And R-Truth, that's very true. But yeah, I was just a bit like, what a waste of Becky's time. She didn't say anything.
What was not a waste of time, though, was, I will be upfront, it might be my favorite thing on the show.
It is mine.
Yeah, this was so good.
This was incredible.
It was Kofi Kingston versus Ludwig Kaiser. This is built off the back of last week, the match not going particularly, it's not going to plan because Vinci got injured.
Vinci got a concussion quite early on, and it was it made it look like it was from Kofi's drop kick. I don't know if it was because Kofi caught at the side of his head at the wrong angle, it was miscommunication, or just Vinci smacked his head off the canvas, but it was a very abrupt stop to the match, appropriately so. Concussions are serious, heads are precious.
Nothing to mess with.
So it was done pretty quickly. So this was a follow-on from that.
And what they got was a really good match between the two of them. Got really, really good towards the end. It spills to the outside. As Kofi is about to make it back into the ring, Kaiser stops him. So it ends in a double countdown.
Everyone boos. And
you're like, what an odd finish. You don't often do double countout finishes, particularly one that doesn't, ends like that with one guy just stopping the other guy from getting back in. But it was there to be done as part of the post-match angle, which was, and they were putting over this a lot in commentary. Wade Barrett was very, very good at highlighting this because it set up the post-match, which is, this is a more vicious side to Ludwig Kaiser than we have seen previously. Like he's really vicious in this match. Like this is a more vicious side, and I'm really I'm liking what we're seeing here. So Wade Barrett's putting this over, and then he just kicks the crap out of Kingston at ringside. Absolutely massive. And they had a bit of a tussle, Kofi launched him over the table. But Kaiser fires back and he just launched him into the chair, into the stairs. Now, Michael Cole isn't there. And he drapes Kofi over these stairs. Producers come down. Jason Jordan, Jamie Noble are there trying to break this all up. And it feels very, very chaotic. And, Kaiser's just like, yeah, sorry, my bad. Maybe I won't be doing that. And he walks around and he goes to the ramp and then legs it round to the other side and does this wicked drop kick into the stairs. Bearing in mind as well, he launched a chair at Kofi's head. And it was all about the head. It was aiming for the head. I thought Michael Cole was great in this segment as well, begging for someone to stop this and put an end to this. This was so good. Loved this.
Irritating me. I can't really add anything because you just said all the things that I was thinking as well. But that's to how effective it was. I was sort of like, I was enjoying that match. I really like Kofi's shorts gear. I really like I thought they had great chemistry. I was really enjoying myself, and the match is a double count out. That's rubbish. I'm booing. Holy crap! That chair! It just came out of nowhere, and it was only on the replay that I realized how well Kofi had sold it, because that looked like that chair took Kofi's head off. And in the replay, I'm watching it slowly. I wanted to take a second to make sure things had gone as they should. And sure enough, like Kofi sells it in the right moment. He's waiting for it. He feeds himself to it, and it's Kofi's selling of it that makes it look so vicious.
And Cole's selling of it.
That's the second thing that I was about to say, because that's right there on my list. Stop preempting me. Michael Cole is doing a damn good job here, because he's like screaming. He's like almost like, we've got to stop this. Like, this man's gone a bit crazy. And Kaiser luring the producers away. Like, he gets in the ring, and then like they're all like backing him away. He's like, yeah, all right, fine, I'll go away. Pull them as far away as possible, so that I've got a little moment to come around, and I'm going to use all my momentum to take out his neck, kind of thing, and get vengeance for his mate. I thought it was absolutely tremendous, and they both did a fantastic little job here. And then Kaiser does a little promo backstage, and actually what followed from that was when we came back from the commercial, it was only Wade's voice, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Only Wade is talking at the moment. I wonder if Cole's gone backstage with Kofi, and there's going to be because Jerry Lawler used to do that. They did that with China a few times. The idea that Cole has...
My friend China.
What's that?
It's the,
Are you being Ivory?
Ivory.
Yeah. I was like, that's the weirdest King impression I've ever heard in my life. But like, yeah, the idea that I thought maybe Cole had gone back, and I think they should have, actually, because it was partly Cole selling that made me sort of sit forward with my little cup of coffee this morning. I thought it was a brilliant segment.
So good. Kaiser's promo afterwards, where he was like, I'm carrying the whole weight of Imperium on my back at the moment because Gunther isn't here at the moment. And last week, Kofi Kingston took the head of Vinci. So this week, I took his. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what I want from Imperium. Not this infighting balderdash that they've been feeding me for the past 8 months, where Gunther's picking his favorite child. No, I want Imperium. I want ring camp. It's so hard to ask for. I just want, and this, he comes from, I was like, this is what Imperium should be. This is what this group is. Not this infighting nonsense that they're doing in every other faction in WWE. I loved this.
Yeah.
Love this.
One thing that I can't unsee that I'm afraid I'm going to have to pass on to you. The logo on Kaiser's trunks looks like the Fraser logo. And I see Fraser every time I look at it. And I just need someone else to be thinking it as well. Thank you.
Loved it. I thought that was super.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Cole did not go backstage with Kofi Kingston, however. He was in the ring because he was there to interview Nia Jax. This was the most Tony Schiavone thing I've ever seen in my life, which is just like, and here is Nia Jax. I'll leave you to it now. And I was like, why were you here? Why do you here, human mic stand? She didn't get to say a whole lot because Rhea Ripley came out and had a bit of a, back and forth. Nia was like, the only reason you're not the champion now is because you're too afraid to face me in a singles match. But just to let you know, I'm going to win the Rumble, so that will happen because I'm going to choose you. And Nia left. It was a short and sweet segment. This was not a segment that overstood its welcome. This was just here. They got all of their words out and they left.
Get into this. I'm really excited to watch Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax whenever it happens. I think Nia has done a fantastic job. I think
this return's been very good.
You didn't watch any wrestling while you were away. Check out that Becky Nia match. It was really good. And like, I was a bit flippant about Becky's promo earlier on, but the thing that did come out of it was that she was happy to sell that Nia's punch was actually pretty decent, and she didn't break her face. She didn't do any like damage or injury or whatever. She just gave me a solid punch that knocked me out and made me lose the match, kind of thing.
Yeah. The video recap that they did make me I want to check that out.
Yeah.
They did like the face break thing.
The match was really great. They did a brilliant job, and I think that she's been improving, and I think I still don't think a few times this week, and it might be a bit of a hot take, so I would grab hold of something. I don't think the writers in this company are very good at writing dialogue, but I think that the substance of what she was given wasn't really great. But then when Rhea comes out, and to the Ultra Chat earlier on that was talking about whether or not to make her babyface in 2024, I did have a moment where I thought, like, well, she's getting that reaction. She
already is
so popular, and yet she's not even like a Steve Austin anti-hero. I don't want them to do a single thing differently with this character.
You don't need to.
You know why? Because she's cool.
That's it. You do not need to change a single thing about Rhea.
If you make her start being a babyface, you'll take away her cool. Cody is over in spite of him being objectively uncool.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tricky, and that is rare. He's getting away with it somehow, and long may it continue, but it is rare to be a babyface and stay cool. Don't do anything to Rhea Ripley because it's working. And I want to see... I've gone back and forth on this a lot. I wanted Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch to be my main event of Elimination Chamber, because give that Mania main event match to Rhea Ripley in her hometown. Then The Rock came along. Then I also got all my ideas for potentially Roman Reigns losing in the Elimination Chamber. And now I've changed my mind. I want Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax, and I'm going to watch the hell out of it. I'll tell you about my Elimination Chamber match later.
Jackie interviewed Cody Rhodes backstage, but he didn't get to say much as Nakamura attacked him from behind and they brawled. Pierce broke it up, and that set up their main event match tonight will now be a street fight. We also got a recap of the return of The Rock from last week as well.
Just a small thing.
It was just there to remind you that Jinder Mahal is a former WWE champion.
Yeah.
That will be important later. We had our only women's match on the show, which was Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus the Party Girls for the women's tag titles, which had a wacky finish. I mean, it's befitting of the tag team, I guess, who are, a wacky comedy tag team. Yeah. But what happened was Piper Niven went up to do the Vader Bomb, and Chelsea Green had laid out one of the Party Girls. The other Party Girl got in, laid out Chelsea Green, and pulled her other Party Girl out the ring. So just Chelsea Green's in the ring now. And Piper Niven just still hit her Vader Bomb move, but took out Chelsea Green instead. The Party Girls then took out Piper Niven, hit Chelsea Green with the knees to the tits, and got the win. Wacky old finish.
Yeah. I would love it if these two could get over. The Party Girls come out with their entrance, which, when you're in a small, vibey crowd like the NXT, the CWC or whatever it's called these days, they're going to dance along. But when you've got the Party Girls jumping and bouncing and da, 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 and the arena is just sort of sat there watching them, I'm like, it's rough. And when they only get one match on the show, it's very hard for them to get over, and they're not really being given much material. They're not really given time to work with. Also, I think some of their move sets are slightly to their detriment. We've talked about this before. I think they require an awful lot of setting up.
They're quicker at them than they once were.
They
still do require a lot of setup.
And I actually thought they were good in this match. I thought the action was absolutely fine. Well, the keg stand.
The keg stand, yeah. It's not only it's a very pretty move and it's very innovative, but it is just all knees to the tits. Like it never looks like they hit that move clean.
That move is not a effective move in the same way as if she just did a 450 splash.
Yeah.
I think it's not. I don't think the moves are as effective as they could be. I think they need to sort of move. Some of them are good, some of them are not. And the keg stand is one that I would let go of. And I just would like for I don't know what it is. Because when they end, they get a little cheer, and you see some people in the crowd doing this as well. And I'm like, I want that energy when they come out. It's just I don't know how to get them there.
I didn't hate the finish. I thought it was wacky.
Yeah, no, the finish was fine.
Yeah, I didn't hate it at all. But I still have not been given a good reason why they took the belts off Green and Piper yet.
To make them a babyface so that we can get them in damage control. That's the best reason.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. This was probably the second best thing on the show. We had a video package of R-Truth. And they threw to this. Like, Michael Cole was just like, R-Truth has provided us this video, and we're now going to air this video. So this is something that R-Truth had made himself. And it was R-Truth telling the story of that when he was born and the doctor held him in his arms, he told the doctor, one day I'm going to be in Judgment Day. And I did just that. And he then recounts all of the times that he is celebrated with the Judgment Day. When Damian Priest won at Money in the Bank. When Rhea Ripley won at WrestleMania. When they did the In Your House show, Judgment Day, in 1998. He loves everyone in Judgment Day. He loves Finn. He loves Rhea. He loves Damian. He loves Tom and Nick Mysterio, though he has yet to meet Nick Mysterio.
Fuck you. I resent how funny this was. I really do.
That's exactly what you said to me. You was like, I resent how funny that Tuesday was.
It was so good.
It was so good. Granted, I thought it was Dom and Nick Mysterio, but people have corrected me to say it's Tom and Nick. Dom and Nick, I think, is funnier.
That is a nitpick. I'm going to say it.
I'm not saying that it's not. I personally think that Dom and Nick is funnier, but Tom and Nick is so funny. Hot dog, this was so good.
It's the fact that he's made it himself, and it's the fact that he's given it to them, and the legal team have watched it before it goes out on air, and they've seen the bit of him with the baby with the doctor, and they've had to write dramatization.
Yeah.
They've gone like, well, that's not actually you. But they haven't put it over any of the other ones. Also, in all of the pictures of him with Judgment Day that he's photoshopped himself into, you know who's not there? JD McDonagh.
Yep.
That's even funnier.
Well, that's because in the video package, he points out, well, JD had to be kicked out of the group
anymore. It's so funny. It was. I wasn't sure when R-Truth came back how much legs this Judgment Day stuff had.
Yeah.
Keep it going for a little bit longer.
Honestly,
it's working.
So
you've got a window. If you're not careful, you'll go through it.
Absolutely.
But make it happen. Like it's working for a minute.
But what even better was like, because this was so good. I loved all of the Muppet Babies versions of Judgment Day as well. I thought that was really funny. But what's so great about this is it then cut backstage and Judgment Day are watching it, and Damian Priest goes, "It's actually pretty funny."
Yeah, I love that Damian Priest likes R-Truth.
Everyone else is really like, "Ooh, no," and Damian Priest is like, "Nah, credit to him. That's pretty funny."
This is the polar opposite of JD McDonagh, where everyone but Priest was sort of game.
Because like JD's there being like, "This is a disgrace to this group," and Priest there being like, That's actually quite funny, really.
It's funny.
But then we did get a bit of infighting between them because they all just started blaming each other for their downfall. So, like, Damian Priest, you didn't cash in last week. Finn Balor, you got beat this week. Rhea Ripley, what are you getting involved with Nia Jax for? The Judgment Day B team, you never win anything. And it is just, a lot of them is like, I don't think none of us like each other at the moment. We are not a winning team, and we do need to fix that somehow.
This is where I really felt like the writers were not writing good dialogue for these people, because it all felt a bit standing in a line and saying words.
I liked this.
Yeah.
Right. This worked for me. I'll be honest
Fair
with you.
enough.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong.
No.
I'm just saying I quite enjoyed this. Might just been I was running off a bit of a high from that R-Truth video.
Yeah, the R-Truth. I think it was because it came straight. I'm the opposite. It came straight after something I thought was so effective that I was like, huh?
Well, The Miz did take on Judgment Day B team member JD McDonagh next, and The Miz won. This match went way longer than it needed to. I actually don't even know how long it went, but it felt like it went on far too long.
And it was also the commentary boring.
Yeah,
the commentary was odd. Wade at one point completely lost his train of thought, and his segue was, and I'm quoting, "Speaking of a guy who isn't rubbish," he was talking about all his various factions, one of which was great, the rest were rubbish. And then he went, "Speaking of a guy who's not rubbish, JD McDonagh." And I so relate to that utter loss of train of thought that you just kind of say the next thing that comes to your head. But Cole was over-egging the pudding somewhat when talking about truth, and it was like explaining the joke to us. You know the Golden Globe monologues? Have you seen it?
I have not.
God, it was an absolute nightmare. I mean, I don't know the comedian at all, but like it was just a complete disaster. And it was that thing of like explaining the joke, and every joke was the same, and it all in the delivery. And Cole was sort of doing an element of that. And so it's contrasting with the incredible work he'd done earlier on. That I was just like. And also, when I was watching this, the internet was lagging, so it felt even longer. You know what I mean? It was a bit of a shame.
This match was 12 minutes long.
Yeah, the end was clunky.
This did not need to be 12 minutes long. And the finish of it was that JD and Dom collided, but Truth was by them, so they can be like, Truth cost this match, but Michael Cole was like, you can't blame our Truth for that. Like, Truth did not get involved, and he didn't. Like, that's the point of this. And then afterwards, Awesome Truth stood tall. So I like this wacky R-Truth character, which is that he is part of Judgment Day, but he also keeps beating them up, and he's having a match with Judgment Day next week. So I quite enjoy that. Awesome Truth, whatever. Like, it's one of the worst things from 2011, but we brought it back for 2024. God, it was a long time ago, guys. But yeah, like this was fine. It was totally fine.
Inoffensive.
It was inoffensive, but it went too long. Seth came out for a promo saying that he's done a lot of things at WrestleMania. He has cashed in at WrestleMania. He's won titles at WrestleMania. He's beaten Triple H at WrestleMania. He's slayed beasts at WrestleMania. But he's never gone into WrestleMania as champion. And that was the last true thing he said, because he then talked about how he has made this belt feel important. Yeah. I do disagree with Mr. Rollins. And he said, but the question is, who will I lightly beat? Who will I beat at WrestleMania? And there was a very light CM Punk chance. And he went, yeah, in his dreams. I think they were expecting the reaction to be bigger than what it was.
The chants were there, but they weren't in sync with each other. So it was just a big conglomerate of noise.
Yeah. But really, that's not what anyone's talking this segment about.
Nope.
No one's talking about the lack of Punk chants, though they were there. No one was really talking about his barefaced lie that this title is more important than the IC belt. That is, of course, me just being glib and projecting onto that. No, what people are talking about is who interrupted him. Because who did interrupt him?
Well, it was former WWE champion Jinder Mahal, and I feel like if the thing I wrote down was, "We're doing this, are we?"
Well, Dan, what we're doing here, it is the tri-monthly, tri-week push.
Yeah.
This is the term I coined on 3 counts last year, the end of last year.
Too many hyphens, yeah.
Yeah, it is the tri-monthly, tri-week push for Jinder Mahal. We'll get this one now, and then we'll have another one in, say, May.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably get another one later on in the year.
The
first one came way earlier than I thought, I'll be honest with you.
Do you remember Alexa Bliss went after Bianca Belair at last year's Royal Rumble?
No, but go on.
But she did. That's what this match is. Seth needs something to do for the next few weeks.
Right.
So let's just give him
This
someone.
is not the next few weeks, Dan. This is
Well,
this
I
is
thought
next
it was going to be his
done.
Royal Rumble feud.
No, this is
like,
next week and done, mate.
Well, this is it. So what's the point?
What's the point? It gets Jinder on TV, doesn't it? It gives Seth a win on TV. This is Samoa Joe versus Hook. This is here to elevate Jinder back into main event level.
So if we are doing this, why doesn't Jinder take a swing at Seth? Seth basically during this, he didn't.
He did.
He didn't.
He suckered him into it. He
No.
waited for Seth to turn his back, then he took a swing.
Let me explain.
Go for it. You're wrong, but go for it.
No, because you haven't listened. Let me explain.
I'll wait till you explain, and I'll point out how you're wrong.
What happens in the promo is Seth is like, "Go on, have a swing at me. Have a swing at me. You know, take a punch." He's trying to goad him into having this whole conversation, like everyone was sick of you, blah 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 blah. Take a swing at me, and then, all right, you're not gonna. And he turns around and goes, and then Jinder batters him. My argument is, have a swing at him when he's facing you. At the very least, it makes you look like a badass. If you're trying to tell me that Jinder Mahal is someone who I should care about watching a match with Seth Rollins next week, I'm going to want to have a reason to want to see it. And let him have just one big punch. And then, batter him down and stand in tall at the end of it. Why not? Heat him up a little bit. Do something with him.
I mean, I take your point. I still think you're wrong. He did this him.
But he didn't take a swing.
As a heel, he suckered him into it. He's smarter than Seth.
It was rubbish.
He's smarter than Seth is old like Jinder. Look, problem here is this is exactly what happened when Jinder won the belt the first time round, which is that you're not on TV, you're a massive jobber, and then all of a sudden you're going for the WWE title.
It is exactly that.
And that's the problem here. Like, this is not Hook and Joe, because Hook's been on TV and Hook wins all the time. And so you're like, yeah, of course Hook's going to go for the world title. Like, Hook loses very rarely. Like, he's only lost like 2 matches in his entire AEW career. Jinder has lost more matches than he's had.
Most recently seen as Indus manager.
Exactly, yeah. But like next week he's got a world title match. This massively devalues that title for me. Devalues Seth. Like this does no one no favors. All that good work that Punk and Drew did at the start, the great work that Cody does as well. I feel like this segment here slightly undermined all of that. Because like the Jinder only came out last week as a punchline. Yeah. It was something for The Rock to be. And really it was only there to be 2 things. A joke that you were once a WWE champion, and B, you're not American, therefore I can cut a pro-American promo on you. Yeah,
and to follow the stuff he was giving was just the most bland, basic, run of the mill. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I've been reading Brian Gewirtz's book about these things, and it really does feel like this is an example of what he talks about a lot, which is just like, just sort of do something to get out of the way. It's very simple, you know.
Yeah. This is filling time before we get to the Rumble, and because Seth's not going to have a title match at the Rumble, we do need to sort of fill Seth's time somehow. Kind of the same way we need to fill Cody's time.
So do a goddamn program with it rather than just having it.
We need to fill Cody's time for basically all of last year. So we had a 6-month feud with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, we have spent more time discussing it than they did discussing the program.
Hey, look, good for Jinder getting back on TV. You know. And like he had his promo segment with The Rock last week.
You can make Jinder Mahal an interesting champion.
This will be his 3rd week on TV.
Yeah.
I haven't had that with Jinder since he was WWE champion.
I feel like you can make him an interesting competitor. Anyone can be. I truly believe, and maybe this is naivety, and it's because I've never actually done it, and I get to see it in this room rather than in that room. But I truly believe that with the right material and the right commitment, anybody can be heated up. You just can't. This is the equivalent of whacking it in the microwave. It's not working for me.
Anyway, so it's Jinder versus Seth next week. So I got my vowels mixed up there. It's Jinder versus... Did it again. Seth versus Jinder next week for the world title.
And it's all of us versus Jinder for the rest of the time, apparently. I can never get our head around it.
And then like they showed Nakamura warming up backstage. I was like, cool. time for the main event then. Nope, we got one more match before. Then we got Otis versus Ivar. It was so Wade Barrett can get his meaty thing over. He loves his big meaty division.
He does.
Like, he is determined to get meat over. Like, it's been this thing in AEW, but it's not really transferred into WWE because way less people are watching AEW.
Well, it also comes from Big E.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't want to give AEW fans the full credit for just coming up with meat in the middle of nowhere.
No, I mean more the chanting of meat.
The chanting of it.
As opposed to just big meaty men slapping meat. That is a Big E thing.
And we spoke about the meat chants, and I was afraid they'd become a hardcore country situation. So I would like to personally thank Wade Barrett for driving it into the mud before it has an opportunity.
But, you know, this was there to be what all of these big men matches in WWE are, which is the big men do the big moves. Not only do they do big moves, they do high-flying moves as well. Like, Otis catched Ivar doing a springboard into a boss man slam, and then Ivar won with the moonsault. Fun big man match. They probably going to do a big meaty spot at the Rumble where all of the meaty men get together for some meaty stuff.
You see that whole thing of who's going to take this guy out?
Yeah. Or, you know, all four of them. You know, if it's sequentially, it's Otis, it's Bronson Reed, it's Ivar, and then it's Dominic Mysterio.
It's funny because Vince always wanted this, but he could never book it in a million years.
Could not do it. Well, there's a reason.
Because I really liked this match. It was very entertaining.
There's a reason why. It's because Vince had a boring style when it came to big man wrestlers, which was don't take bumps.
Yeah.
And one of the great things why Walter is one of the best big men in WWE right now is that, and why Gunther has been one of the best people, is because when he was Walter, that's the point I was going to make, when he was Walter, he took bumps. He was a big man that sold for little guys, and that actually made him more impressive, as opposed to just being a big man that doesn't sell. That's why a Moss is well boring. And a Moss will be in the Rumble, and it will be well boring.
All the four big men will knock him out.
Yeah.
And then jump over the top rope to moonsault on him, and that's how they get eliminated.
Speaking of Bronson Reed, Jackie was interviewing Jey Uso backstage, and thankfully Bronson Reed came in to stop him from just like being the excitable little puppy that he is, and was there to be like, I know you want to win a singles title this year, but you're going to have to go through me to get to that. And that's that. So there's another little mini program for you leading into the Rumble.
Main event Jey Uso in the mid-card feud.
Yeah. Main event. And then our main event was Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a street fight. You have not been thrilled with this Cody Rhodes versus Nakamura story.
It's neither of their fault. I think it's accounting for that best of week, like I say earlier on, it's taken 6 weeks of television to get us here. And with 3 hours of television each week, for me to feel like there's no progression in this storyline really is an abject failure. We've talked about abject failures before, and this is one where I'm like, I should really want to see this match. And I think the graphics look great. I think the Shinsuke character and the promos that they have him doing is great. I love, you know me and Mist. I'm a simple boy. I see Mist, I pop, and I did so in this match. But the program itself, like last week, they came out and did something, and it didn't make me more excited for this match this week. Mm-hmm. I thought I was just going to see it last week, and it felt like, why didn't I see it last week? So I think it's been a damp squib that it's gone out with.
It's been filling time for Mr. Rhodes.
Yeah.
But as we head our way to the Rumble, I did enjoy the getting a big time video package.
Yeah.
Beforehand, I thought that was really good.
That's how many times have we seen those people doing that job pull absolute magic out of a hat.
Yeah, that's true. You know. The crowd predictably chanted for tables throughout this. Cody is the babyface, so he got them that. At one point, Cody ducked the mist, and Shinsuke missed the timekeeper right in the face, which was a fun spot.
And Cody was absolutely furious, and do you know why? Because that timekeeper is his real life cousin.
Is it really?
I found that I was like, oh, he's been a bit too babyface here. Yeah. Like, sod him. He's just a timekeeper guy. No, it's his cousin.
Wow.
And also, Cody cares. Man of the people.
You know, blue-eyed babyface.
Blue-eyed babyface.
And then Nakamura went through a table. Crossroads, Cody won. A totally fine main event.
Yeah, and the intensity was so low. The match was really baggy. If I get a main event Raw street fight, I feel like it should be frenetic and intense. I think about all the Attitude Era sort of walk and brawl situations and multi-man matches that felt a little bit intense, and this just didn't have any of that. The ending was good. I really liked the lead up to that final table spot. I mean, not the first table spot where I feel like I could have sneezed and make more an impact on that table than Shinsuke's move did, but Shinsuke careening into that. I mean, it was even right at the beginning when Cody's bashing him into the barricades and Shinsuke's not really throwing himself at it. There just wasn't any of that intensity. However, all of this conversation we had last week, where there were a number of comments just that I can sense almost in a way that the commentary at the people like us are high on Cody. We like Cody, and we think of him as the one who's going to dethrone Roman, or maybe get a main. We think of him finishing the story. We think of him being a guy who you can put the belt on, and it's going to go really well for your company. And I think I'm seeing some of the comment section, or some of the sort of darker parts of the IWC are rejecting Cody a little bit and saying he's not the guy. He'll never be the guy. He's got no mainstream appeal. Certainly not over The Rock. Listen to this crowd here. In this match, which I don't think is particularly good, they are up there for Cody. They are on their feet for Cody. There was a video the other week of that his theme being played at just some rando baseball match, and this happens a lot here as well. They play it, and the guy who makes the music at the Arsenal stadium loves to play wrestling themes. And the woe happens at this rando baseball thing, which has nothing to do with wrestling. He's got something. He's got that blue-eyed baby face, got the look, the tattoo. I still don't understand how anyone allowed it to happen, but when he puts on a suit, he's a very presentable figure, especially for this new company. I still think he's the guy.
He is the guy.
Yeah.
I think you can say a lot about Cody Rhodes, and this is not to say that you can't enjoy Cody Rhodes' work. If you're not a fan of Cody Rhodes, then that is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Like that's completely your
Not
prerogative.
everything is for everyone.
Not everything is for everyone, but you cannot deny that the man's over.
Yeah.
Like, he is the most over babyface in WWE, certainly on Raw. Like,
To the point.
He is a hero on Monday Night Raw. He is a hero to WWE. I think he had the most matches in all of WWE last year. Meltzer had the write about this in the Observer.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? Well, I've just realized, to tie it in with what we were talking about on World's End and last night on Collision, there's a cringeness to his earnestness.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, okay, so you and I talked about this fairly recently because Lindsay Ellis did that video about Guy Fieri. And Guy Fieri's made this big comeback because he was a punchline like 10 or so years ago when it was sort of a cool thing to make fun of Guy Fieri and his frosted tips and his, wearing sunglasses behind his head.
Yeah.
But now, because he hasn't changed anything about his shtick, and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives is a show that has not changed in the 15 years that he's been doing it. People have turned a corner on guys like, oh no, he's just an earnest dude. He's just having a fun time.
Yeah.
It's like that comedian's whole thing was just like, people seem to hate Guy Fieri, and all I can see from him is a guy that lives his dream.
Yeah.
And we are becoming a society that is warming to earnestness.
Well, Anne Hathaway had it about a decade ago when she was in Les Mis, because she'd been sort of in these like kids movies, and then suddenly she was being taken seriously and getting Oscars, and she was earnest about it, and she sort of threw everything in it with that big theatre kid energy that, speaking from experience, people tend to reject. Bradley Cooper's having it at the moment with Maestro, and like it's there's almost something when you really throw your energy into it and an earnestness, people do sort of push back on it a little bit. When I was talking about MJF's Players Tribune piece having a level of cringe to the earnestness, I wasn't saying cringe in a bad way, although I can understand why you might hear it was, because I heavily related to the passion with which he was speaking, because it's kind of a passion that like we talk about here, which is why the people who would consume things with that sort of cynical nature would maybe see us as like marky, cringy, whatever, because there's an earnestness to it. And Cody is so blue-eyed babyface that there is going to be a corner of the internet who sees him pay for some of the wrestling club to come to WrestleMania on Twitter, agree to be the guy's best man or whatever, quote tweeting, replying to people, doing all of these things, which is, I genuinely believe, comes from an honest and earnest place. And all the stuff about his dad, the crying in promos, I believe that comes from a very honest and earnest place, and rejects that level of earnestness because they don't see it as Steve Austin flip a finger cool.
No,
you know?
well, yeah, because that's that 90s sensibility. I was listening to a podcast, which is the most millennial thing anyone can say in a conversation. I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about the history of Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
And that idea of, like, it is a movie that came out in 2000, I believe. It has got strong 90s energy to it because it's David Spade. And people like David Spade and Matthew Perry made whole careers in the 90s from being sarcasm. Sarcasm doesn't travel now. Like, sarcasm is, it's one of the things that I've come under fire most on the channel because I'm still fairly sarcastic at times. And I say things knowing that I say things that are objectively stupid, but I say them like I believe it.
Right.
But that's the joke.
Conviction.
Yeah, I say it with conviction, but that's the joke,
Yeah.
that I believe this thing that I am saying. But people don't pick up on the sarcasm on that. They just think that that's what I believe. Or if I just say things that are just like, I do it just to be like, oh, I'm going to say, I think the Dark Knight is a 3-star movie. And like, I would just say these things to people because it makes people like really angry.
What a horrible choice to pick. They're going to clip that out.
Well, I know,
but
but that's what, it's part of my gimmick. And like, that is, it was fine to have done that 10 years ago, but it doesn't fly now in a world which is much more earnest. And I think certainly post-pandemic, we are looking to just a relatable, earnest people. And that's why Cody, I think, will forever.
That's probably why I love him so much.
Yeah, I think, well, Cody is just, he's him. Like, this is who Cody Rhodes is. And that's kind of why, like, he doesn't feel like a character. He doesn't feel like a gimmick on screen. He is just Cody Rhodes.
And even
that's why he'll forever be the guy.
And even with all of the stomping like SpongeBob and hitting himself in the face, and there's some areas which feel a little bit like, what are you doing that for, mate? I'm still in.
And in the same way, like it's times are cyclical. In the 1980s, this is why Hogan was over, because Hogan was blue-eyed babyface. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, America, waving the flag, this, that, and the other. And like, you know, when it got into the 90s, that was super cringe because it was like, oh god, like say your prayers and eat your vitamins. All right, yeah.
And they were smart enough to make that jump.
And he made the jump. So he was like, I'm going to turn myself into a bad guy. But like, you couldn't have done this Cody Rhodes shtick that he's doing now in the 90s in the Austin era because it wouldn't have flown. Because
it would have been Kurt Angle.
He would have been. And Kurt Angle was a dork.
Yeah.
Like, he was doing all that, and he was a loser. He was a nerd. But now, like, you could do the Kurt Angle shtick, and it would be a blue-eyed babyface. It's the cyclical change of the world.
And I think the other thing that really just sort of like sets it over the line for me is that Cody's damn good.
He's very good.
When the bell rings, he's got an intensity to him. And that's why I was disappointed in this match, because I like Shinsuke Nakamura very much. I like Cody Rhodes very much. I know what they both have, and I didn't feel like it connected here. I felt like Cody... I have this image in my head, I think we all did at the time, of Cody with the belt in the air, the WrestleMania sign, all the pyro, covered in sweat. And that's what I think of when I think of someone winning a belt. I have this stock image of someone winning a belt at the big show and what it looks like. Even at a Rev Pro show, or even at a Defy show, or any shows that are a lot smaller, the image of someone on the ropes with a belt in the air looks like they've been through the wars. And I feel like Cody's always able to sell that he's been through the wars and he's really fought for it. And to the point of him being, you can't deny that he's over. When he's standing on the ropes at the end of this show, and Michael Cole is talking about nobody since Stone Cold Steve Austin has managed to do it 2 years in a row, I conceivably believe that he could do it. Whether or not I think it's the right booking choice is a completely different matter. I think he could do it. My booking choice is to have him win the Elimination Chamber, and Roman goes out first. But that's a whole other conversation and a whole other video.
I'm not on board with that, I'm afraid.
It's so much more fun.
Someone just pointed out there, like, Power Pack is like, he was like, hey, it'd have been the Patriots. It'd have been It'd have been Del Wilkes.
Yeah.
Del Wilkes now must be like, oh, the Patriots around here and I love America and America loves me.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, DX, mate.
His literal whole color scheme is just the American flag.
Yeah. His neck is the American flag. Like, I love how earnest Cody is. He's so earnest, he's saving Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
more references for you there. This didn't work for me because what this felt like, and this kind of reminded me a little bit of when Cody, towards the end of his AEW run, where he just was having feuds with Andrade and Andrade and Malachi Black were just a team, and he was just going up against them, and it was just like, this feels like it's just Cody filling time.
Yes.
Like, we've got to get Cody on TV, so we've got Cody on TV.
Yeah.
We actually haven't got anything of substance to do, but at least Cody's on TV and Cody's over. It's kind of what I've had with this Nakamura thing. Like, it's, 6-7 weeks, and it's been like, yeah, it's fine. It felt like it was filling time.
Yeah.
And I do feel like since like War Games with Cody, and even then, even pre-War Games, but I think pretty much since Mania last year, we've just been filling time for Cody.
Yeah, and that's frustrating.
Yeah, the Dominic Mysterio feud, it was just filling time.
Yeah, but at least that one was entertaining.
That's true, it was, yeah.
Whereas the Shinsuke thing hasn't been for me.
Yeah, that's fair. But that was the show. I had a ruddy good time with this episode. Despite the fact that I thought, and even then, like, my quibbles I had with the main event, it was good.
I think it was a good show.
And I thought, like, the match itself was good. It was, like, the show I thought was pretty awesome overall. I thought that opening segment was fantastic. I thought a lot of the wrestling up and down the card. I loved the Vinci stuff. This is like a real strong 4 out of 5. Like, Pete gave this a 5 out of 5 on the episode review. And I don't know if I would go fully that high, but like if we were doing point decimals, like 4.5. But I'm certainly a high 4.
It's a good show. Yeah. I thought it was a thumbs up show.
Yeah, a real thumbs up show. The poll has been started. Look at that. I didn't even have to press anything. Thank you very much, whoever did that. I'm going to assume...
I believe it was Brandon.
I would assume it was Brandon. Before we get into the rest of your shout-outs, we have got to give a special shout-out to our Patreon Pledgehammers over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. If you're one of our $25 and above Patreon Pledgehammers, you get your name read out on the show like these fine folk. Always Shining Garrett Albright.
The Hurricane, Gregory Helms.
Hannah A. Baby.
Geordie Bus Driver, Harry.
I was going to say, bad. The Gaelic Storm, Heather Murphy.
The Aztec Warrior, Hector Rodriguez.
Pitch Perfect, Isaac Octave.
Murderous James Murta.
WrestleTalk's personal problem solver, Jamie Donovan.
Spoken class today, Jeremy Smith.
John Jenkinson, son of Jenka.
And the singing luchador, Joseph Santana.
That is your Hall of Fame class for the 9th of January, 2024. Let's get into the rest of your Ultrachats. So if you want to get them in, ding, 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 this is your last call, wrestletalk.com/support. Charlie McGregor here said, hey lads, first time Ultrachat here, been watching for years. Thought it was a decent Raw with a pretty good main event, so I'm surprisingly quite enjoying Jinder being back. Anyway, who do you think will hold the World Heavyweight belt throughout 2024?
I would like to see some title changes. I'm not saying hot potato the belt, I'm not saying put it on different people for no reason, but I don't want to see a full year's worth of reign. I think when you're building the legacy of a belt, I think you do need to pop a few things in.
Names on there.
Gunther's been doing rehab on the Intercontinental title belt, and it needed it. World Heavyweight title needs to look like a prize that you can see on the...
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I mean, I certainly think Punk will probably win the belt.
I hope so.
This year. I could see them giving it to Drew as like a little hey, you want to re-sign there, buddy?
Punk and Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I don't see Sami getting the belt.
Ever?
Think no, I know, don't saying ever, but Triple H didn't put the belt on Sami Zayn in NXT for a long while. He wanted to build and build and build the anticipation of Sami finally winning the belt. And I can foresee him doing a lot of... Basically, when I look at when I watch Triple H shows, I'm like, you're basically doing all the things you did in NXT, but now you're doing them on the big show.
Yeah. I liked them when they were on NXT.
And I loved them when they were on NXT, so I don't mind it at all. Booking Like a Mark here says, with the New Year's themed episodes of Raw and SmackDown doing so well last week, could we see WWE do something like that more often? On the road to WrestleMania, will we possibly see Raw Roadblock or SmackDown Fastlane?
I think giving them little subtitles is a really smart thing. It's something AEW have done really well with their lack of pay-per-views. NXT are doing it as well.
You just don't want to do them too many, because that's what AEW ran into in 2021 or so, where it was every other episode had a name to it.
Yeah.
And it was you don't need that many.
Day one was smart because it was day one, and then to have New Year's Evil on NXT, and then, why not have a trifecta with all of our shows? Doing it now and again is a smart one.
Should make as well, doing it so well for them ratings wise. SmackDown did a great number, but Roman was on the show. The Rock was on the show last week, so there are sort of anomalies there that can boost a ratings.
Raw has also been against football. The reason this season is so big for WWE, the reason they make so much effort, is that this is the season where they are unopposed by football, so they're all about it.
The Captain Kirk here said, Rumble winner will be CM Punk. Rhodes will win the Fatal 4-Way and be new champion because of Rock distracting Roman. WrestleMania, you will get Rock versus Roman, CM Punk versus Rhodes, LA Knight versus Orton, Seth versus McIntyre, AJ Styles versus Solo Sikoa. Simple. I think it's going to be LA Knight Logan Paul for the US title.
I think so too.
Personally.
In my little fantasy booking where I've got the chamber happening, and by the way, it's because of the Royal Rumble, I want to see Roman stack them all high. I want him to hit his finish on them all like he did on SmackDown, stack them in a pile, stare down lens, and cover them for the 3. And then in the Elimination Chamber, I would like it to be all of Roman's past come to haunt him again, and everybody gets to hit a finish on Roman, and Jey gets the splash and pins Roman, and we get that Edge John Cena moment with the meme where he's like, and then Cody wins. And I thought about it, and I was like, Cody Orton. We're so stuck on this idea that Cody has to beat Roman.
It's just about finishing the story. It's just winning the blue title.
It's winning the belt. It's winning the WWE title. But yeah, this is the point. There's so many different options.
I think Roman's too tied into the story now.
You think?
100%. He didn't beat Roman last year.
Yeah.
And I think... And the whole point was the only reason he didn't beat Roman is because he had his island with him, and now he's going to be going into WrestleMania with less of that island.
Yeah. Unless you have Cody win the belt in the chamber after Jey. Listen to me. And then that's where you set up Cody Roman 3 at or Cody Roman again at WrestleMania 41, and Roman's like, you're going to never beat me. And he's got the belt on him, and he's like, damn it, I never beat him. I don't know. Yeah. There's stuff to play with.
I feel like we've got a very simple story here. Let's stop trying to just muddy it somewhat.
Oh, like I was saying earlier on, and I've just fulfilled my own prophecy. You're making a good point.
Matt here says Drew and Punk would be great. Could be an Elimination Chamber program in February. Happy to see DIY in the hunt for the tag titles, and they were presented as smart baby faces rather than dumb baby faces.
That's true.
The heels tried to cheat, so they played them at their own game and won. Our Truth is a treasure, and we must protect him. Jey Uso should win the IC title. Cody vs. Nakamura was really good, and Ivar vs. Otis was a great meaty match. I agree with Pete. Review 5 out of 5 Raw. We also have Gunther back next week, which is always a big win.
I do like the idea of Jey winning the Intercontinental title, actually, at some point. Interesting how quickly we've fallen off the idea of Jey versus Jimmy.
Oh,
I haven't had anyone talk about that in a long time.
There's a reason why for that. Is because they did the turn at SummerSlam, and they were like, oh, we want to do that as a WrestleMania match, so we just won't do anything.
But now it's just not in our conversation.
Because no one wants to see it.
It's because there are too many other matches.
An unknown username here. It's a Streamlab issue. Please do let our moderators know, who said, I didn't come to say anything. The only thing I will do is repeat the mantra. Don't hinder the Jinder.
You really didn't say anything when he said that, did you?
Plasmapedia has been a member for 20 months in a row. Said, part of me wants a Jinder push, not for the title, but just to make him look a bit more credible, because I'm here for a heel run of Jinder.
Maybe we're just not right.
Well, we were there in 2017.
Yeah.
We've been there, Dan. Like, I feel that this is... Do you know what this is? This is people trying to tell me that Attack of the Clones is a good movie. And the reason why people keep trying to tell me that Attack of the Clones was a good movie is because they were 6 when they saw it. And I was a jaded guy in my 20s. So, of course, I thought it was stupid and boring and rubbish.
Yeah.
But, if you're 6 years old and it's your first Star Wars movie, you're probably going to think it's awesome. But those 6-year-olds are now 26. They're telling me that it's an awesome... I loved that movie when I was a kid. You're wrong, you stupid old man. Jinder as WWE Champion was, may I remind you, 6 years ago. More than that. It was 2017.
8 years ago.
It was 8 years ago. So if you were 8... I would say if you were
7 years ago.
7 years ago. So if you were 11 and you were a child when Jinder was there and you were booing him as champion, you are now 18. You are an adult with actual.
Oh, you mean how I think the Invasion was actually quite good?
Yeah, because we were kids.
Yeah.
And, we were...
and I didn't watch WCW, so I didn't care that Chuck Palumbo wasn't the big guy.
Absolutely, because you're a child and you just enjoy the things that are on because you're a child.
Yeah.
And so you're now 18. You're like, no, I hated Jinder when I was a kid. What a great WWE champion was. Because you can't see past nostalgia blinders.
This is where our theory of the case comes to Plasma PT's like, actually, I'm 51. I was there when Magnum TA fought Tully Blanchard or whatever.
Perhaps. We have the results of our poll. Punk versus Seth got 50% of the vote, with the triple threat coming in second with 36% of the votes.
I think that's the money match. I'm not averse to a triple threat with Drew at WrestleMania. They tend to go quite well, but I think there's your money.
Yeah. See, look, it's happening in the chat now. Attack of the Clones is a good movie. Luke, it is. Attack of the Clones is like the prequel's Empire. What? That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
Cardigan to Cozy said, hear me out. Next Money in the Bank, Drew wins. Justin Edelhurst. Oh, that's the second one. Next Money in the Bank, Drew wins. What do you think of that? Let's get away from the chat. Let's not look at this. Let's talk about the idea. Cardigan to Cozy has a good idea. Drew might win Money in the Bank.
Also, because I'm an old man, the cardigans are cozy. I do like that though. Justin here has been a member for 13 months in a row. Said, "Hi guys, hope you're doing well. I can see this year's Rumble being restarted because Punk and Cody's feet touch at the same time, and then Punk wins."
That anniversary is next year.
Yeah,
so maybe they'll save it.
John has said, them holding off Orton versus Roman because they don't want to rush it makes me feel like Roman's going to be going into Mania as champ, and they're going to try and stretch it out, which by that scenario, I think Rock versus Roman happens at Mania and Cody gets delayed. Well, here's the other kicker to remember as well, this was in the Observer on Friday. The WWE have been talking to Hogan because this year will be 40 years since the birth of Hulkamania. And that also means Roman's not that far behind beating the Hulkamania run. So, Ollie's been kind of banging this drum of like, I think we need to mentally prepare ourselves that Cody's not finishing the story this year, because in the same way that like, well, we wanted to beat 1,000 days. Now we can, we're not that far off from beating the Hulkamania run.
Why not hold it for 8 years?
What, be the Bruno run?
Yeah.
Yep. Bad Boy. What I mean by that, John, is I agree. I think it is going to be Rock and Roman at Mania.
I will say, in combat to all the people who were telling me that Rock would never debase himself and not be, he's only coming back to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Can I remind you, first of all, that he had a match with Eric Rowan at WrestleMania once, just for a bit of a laugh. And also, money talks. And if they're going to give him Elimination Chamber money, you're damn right he's going to sell out a stadium and Elimination Chamber and main event that as well. Like,
funny thing there. Someone saying like you're playing a dangerous game here by mentioning the prequels on the internet. Well, may I remind you, Biffy Pong, what I was doing in 2002, talking about Attack of the Clones on the internet, and we all agreed it was garbage.
I've never seen it. Anyway,
where do I get to here? Chris said here, it's like, I'd like to draw your attention to Julia Hart saying Alexa Bliss and AJ Lee are some of her inspirations. It's nice to see that she's so brave to give Alexa any praise, because Lord knows it's rare. I don't know where you get this from, Chris. Alexa gets praised all the time. Yeah. Alexa's like The Miz and hasn't got the IWC approval club. She gets praise all the time, Chris. I don't know where you're getting this from.
No, she's brilliant.
Yeah, she gets praise everywhere you look, apart from where Chris apparently looks. Tracy here has been a member for 4 months in a row, says, love you all, love the WrestleTalk universe, and I'm sorry you have to deal with the toxic comments. Just giving your opinions. Can't we all be kind? Me talking about the prequels is what I was talking about, the sarcasm thing.
Yeah.
You know, like people just be like, oh no, Luke's wrong, and they'll get super mad about the fact, but it's just...
Get into this. Nothing really matters. We're talking about wrestling. We're passionate about it. You're talking about Star Wars. We love it. It takes. Like what you like. Don't like what you don't like. Some people earnestly like WWE and don't really pay attention to what goes on in AEW, or the other way around. If they're massive AEW fans, they don't really care about what goes on in WWE. That's fine. Let people like what they like. Doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't mean it has to be your opinion. It's just my opinion. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Everything's fine. We're all going to be friends at the end of it.
And Mr. Top 2 has been a Minberg for 11 months in a row.
Oof! I also think we've missed one.
Did we?
Bad boy Dino. Although he's not needed, do you think The Rock makes a Rumble appearance, maybe number 30 against Cody or Punk? It would honestly be fun seeing him versus Punk in the Rumble, given their history, and even have Punk eliminate him. Because I have liked the little wrinkle of The Rock and Punk back, and now The Rock's doing the same thing again to Punk, maybe, and all of this stuff. I love all of this.
11 years on.
Yeah.
You know, Rock beating him at the Rumble for the title. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to see Punk in the. I'm going to see Rock in the Rumble.
I don't think so either.
I think it's a Rock Roman stare down, because this might be a bit of a crazy take here. Roman's main eventing the show, just like he did last year. Mm-hmm. So the Fatal 4-Way is the main event of the show. Roman wins, probably pinning LA Knight. That's why he's in the match. And then The Rock comes out, and it's the Rock Roman stare down.
I have it on just before the Rumble.
If you're doing Rock and Roman stare down, that's the main event of the show.
I don't think Rock's going to be there.
You don't think Rock's going to be at the Rumble?
No.
After that promo last week, you don't think the Rock's going to be at the Rumble?
I think he's going to be there after the Rumble. I don't think he's going to be there at the Rumble. I think they're going to pile them high, pin them all. Main event. The closing shot is CM Punk pointing. CM Punk pointing at the WrestleMania sign isn't your end of show angle.
Not if the Rock's there.
I don't think the Rock's going to be there.
Well, okay. Here's an even bigger thing then. Comes to nothing. In the same way that all of The Rock's teasers about a match with Roman Reigns has come to nothing, this one also comes to nothing.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it.
When he returned last year, no one remembers the fact that he returned last year. Yeah. No one was like, The Rock's back. Not really. He was just unemployed. And it led to nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just another one.
Maybe
it just leads to nothing.
What
a bombshell to end on as well. Make sure you get your tickets for our Royal Rumble watch party. If you are at our Survivor Series show, go check your emails. It is in your inbox. Use the promo code to get into early access, 48 hours early access to get your tickets. Tickets will be going on sale to the general public, to the rest of you, on Thursday when we're doing the AEW Dynamite review. This is going to be a hell of a fun show. We're doing a live Survival Series as well, so it's going to be a great time. But we are going to be back on Thursday for that AEW Dynamite review. Please do subscribe to this channel. We are just over 2,000 away from hitting our goal. So please do get involved. We're trying to get to 85,000 subscribers. So get involved, subscribe, give this video a like, leave a comment down below, and we'll see you on Thursday. I've been Cohen, DAD. That has been Dan Layton. Jam that jam. Also, there's a poll. There's a poll.
Did you mean to do this one?
Yeah, sorry. It's because that's over. Hold on. I'm just going to do this poll. Hold on.
Back for one more kill.
Doing the poll. 79% thumbs up.
There you go. What a good show.
79% thumbs up.
Bye-bye.
Bye.